Hello, YouTube land, and welcome to another edition of Putting It Back on the Table, a Renee James production. Family, it's time to fasten those seatbelts for a thrilling adventure of home cooking, featuring culinary instructor Derek J. Snyder. I'm your host, D. Schneid, and tonight the table presents
Risotto, part one introduction.
Alright, YouTube land. Today we're doing risotto. But not just any risotto, we're doing one of my family's favorites tomato basil risotto with pancetta. If you didn't know already, risotto is an Italian dish made from rice, arborio rice to be specific. Although it can be made from any rice, preferably rice with high starch content. Many people think risotto is rice when in fact it's the cooking method, meaning to simmer rice in liquid on the stovetop. Risotto is a very versatile food. You can flavor it with just about whatever you want. You can use different types of liquids, anywhere from water to stock to juices and sauces, even some purees if they've been thinned out enough. You can add any kind of produce or protein and use any kind of herb, making sure that they complement your choice of liquid. Otherwise, you'd just be cooking for those mangy dogs lurking in the back alley. Wouldn't they love that? Well, enough of my jibber jabbering. Let's get started, shall we?
Risotto, part two, the ingredient list.
Ooh, that's like a 4 ounce packet of pancetta, Italian bacon. That's what that is. That's Parmesan cheese. That's grated Parmesan cheese. That's garlic. That's like 3 cloves of garlic. There's like that's like 5 or 6 leaves of basil. That's some arborio rice. Looks like about a cup of arborio rice, and that's an onion. It's about a medium sized onion, like a Vidalia sweet onion. Those are San Marzano cherry tomatoes. That's what those are. Looks like about 8 or 10 ounces. That's a can of tomato sauce. 1 cup. That's some salt. That's some pepper, and that's some chicken stock. That's what that is. Oh look, and there's basil in it. And what is? That's some white wine. That's a Chardonnay 2014.
Risotto, part three, the preparation.
Okay, so for garlic, take the back of your knife and smash them down like that. That breaks the skin and releases it. That makes it easy to peel. So then once you take your garlic and you peel it all off, then take your knife and just try to chop them up. Just slice through them like that. We don't. It's a rustic dish, so you don't need a great chop. Just kind of chop them up small, not quite a mince, but kind of like what I got there. And once you get them all chopped up and you get a nice little pile of them like that, then take the back of your knife and smash them down. Doing that releases the oil on them and helps out the flavor. So just like that, just kind of smooth them out and smash them down and open them up a little bit. Then scoop them up and put them in your bowl there, and that's it. Next is the onion. Take the top there, or the bottom actually, and cut the bottom off, and then slice it in half. And then take the back of your knife and just put it just underneath the skin, and that helps. That makes it easy to peel the skin off. Of course, this guy here is giving me some problems, as you can see by all the little pieces that are down there. And then make sure that you still got the root on this thing, because you're going to need the root for when you do what's called a day right here, where you slice down and make these little slices down, but don't cut through the root. Just slice into the front, and then make a couple of slices sideways through it, just like so. Then once you do that, then you start shaving down just like that, and that gives you a dice cut. Then we'll just cut the little pieces off the root so we're not wasteful, and make sure we make full use of the onion. Throw the root away, and cut those up. And then once you get all that cut up, then go ahead and scoop it all up and put it away, and then we'll move on to the next item. All right, so next we got tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and these are San Marzano, so they're a little longer. But if you had regular cherry tomatoes, you just cut them in half. But I'm cutting mine into quarters here, just because they're longer, and I want the smaller size pieces, just like as if they were little cherry or even grape tomatoes. So once you get them all cut up, then put them in a bowl, and that's it. Pretty easy with that one. All right, with the basil, what you're gonna do is do a chiffon where we stack all the pieces and then or all the leaves, and then we roll it up, and then we do these tight little sliver cuts just like that, and make these little rounds, and it gives you these nice little shreds. So yeah, they cook really nice, and it opens up the flavor. Just put them in a bowl, and that's it.
A risotto and a part for the cooking.
All right, so risotto is made in a three-step process, and that's adding liquid to the rice at three different stages. The liquid to the right there in the pot is 2 cups of chicken stock. I forgot to mention it was 2 cups, and that 1 cup of tomato sauce. And I brought that up to a simmer. You want to make sure that your liquid is hot, otherwise you're going to keep cooling down your rice every time you try to put it in there, and that's going to stop it from cooking. Okay, so we're gonna start by rendering the fat out of the pancetta for our risotto. This will also cook the pancetta, so it's not raw when it goes in at the end. But most important, we just want to get the fat out of it. If we weren't using pancetta, then we'd simply just put some olive oil in the pan and start from there. Once the pancetta gets nice and brown, but stays soft, you'll want to get it too brown. You don't want to get it nice and crispy. You want it to stay soft. Once it gets to that point and a lot of the fat is rendered out, then we're going to go ahead and remove it from the pan and try to keep as much oil in the pan as possible. Once you get all the pancetta removed from the pan, let's go ahead and add our onions. We'll put them in there and we'll cook them. We're doing this all on medium heat, by the way. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but medium heat. And then we're going to cook our onions here until they get nice and soft and nice and translucent. Once our onions start to get cooked and translucent, that's when we'll start. That's when we'll add our garlic to it. We don't want to add our garlic too early because it'll burn. So we'll go ahead and put it in now. And you just want to cook the garlic until you start to actually kind of smell the garlic. And once you smell the garlic, that's when we're gonna get it. Go ahead and put the rice in there, and then get the rice nice and coated with the fat. All right, so I can smell the garlic. So we're going to put the rice in now, and we're gonna stir it around once we get it in there. And we want to do is we want to get the rice all coated with all the fat from the pancetta, and we want to get that to cook to where it starts to smell kind of toasty. But you got to keep stirring it around to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. Okay, now that I can start to smell the rice and it smells kind of toasty, we're going to add our white wine into it. And I'm only putting in like maybe a half a cup here, 3/4 cup. Um, and we're just going to stir the rice around in that and give it some aromatics. We're going to cook that. We're going to cook that wine down and to where it's called au sec, meaning we're going to take it down to a point to where pretty much all the liquid is burned off, and it's just it starts to open up the kernels or the rice grains, and the starch starts to come out. When you start moving the rice around and the wine is cooked down, you start to see these little white streaks in the bottom of the pan, like I'm showing here. Then that's when we know that it's time to start adding our liquid. Like I said, this is a three-step process or three-stage process. And remember, there's 3 cups of liquid in there. There's 2 cups of chicken stock and 1 cup of tomato sauce. So we're gonna pour 1 cup in here to begin. So now that you got your liquid in there, you're gonna bring it to a simmer and you're gonna cook the rice in that liquid. You're gonna let the rice absorb up most of the liquid, but a lot of it's gonna burn out. Um, you're gonna move the rice around, stirring it occasionally, but not a lot. When you pull the rice away from the side of the wall of the pan and you find that no liquid's falling back underneath it, then you know it's time to put in your second stage of liquid. All right, you see here when I pull the rice away from the side of the pan that no liquid's falling down underneath it, then you know it's time to put in your next stage of liquid, which is another cup or half of what you got left in the pot there. You can do exactly the same thing as you did the first time, and just let it simmer until all the liquid starts to get absorbed by the rice and evaporate out again. Okay, so we got the rice pulling away from the side of the pan and no liquid's falling underneath it again, just like the first time. So we know now that it's time to put in our last remaining amount of liquid that's left in the pan. Only this time here we're going to simmer it, but we're not going to simmer it all the way down because we still have other items to put into this. So we're going to cook it for a while until it starts to get like almost soupy instead of watery. All right, so our rice is looking a little soupy now. We haven't let the liquid cook all the way out yet. So now it's time to add in all of our items like our tomatoes and our basil and our pancetta, and we'll add all that in right now and give it a nice stir. so we can get that hot rice on top of the tomatoes and get them to start to cook the tomatoes, and let them cook for a little while. And now we're going to let the rest of the liquid start to, get absorbed by the rice and to simmer out. All right, so now we got all our vegetables mixed up in there, and most of our liquid has gone away. Now we're gonna add our cheese and get our cheese all mixed up in there and give it a really nice creaminess with the cheese. So we'll just pour it over the top and just stir it in. Make sure that all the cheese gets melted into it. Now it's time to season it, but we want to taste it first before we season it because we have both the pancetta and cheese in there, which are both very salty. So we don't want to throw a bunch of salt in if it's not needed. So we're gonna take a little taste here, and we're gonna find out if we need to add a little salt. If we need to add a little salt, we'll put a little salt in. We'll grind off a little pepper, and mix it around and let it meld. And after that, we're going to go ahead and put we're going to cover it. And in this case here, I'm going to take another pan that I have that's the same size and cover it, and we're going to turn off the flame and let it sit there covered with the flame off, and just let it kind of sit and meld and get all the flavors to just kind of work themselves together. All right, so it sat here for about a minute, minute and a half off flame with the cover on. We're going to take the cover off here, and the only thing left, it's done now. It's all cooked. Everything's ready to go. So the only thing left to do now is to take a couple of spoonfuls and put it in a bowl and serve it up.
Risotto Part 5. The Eating.
Okay, so that's tomato basil risotto with pancetta. When you serve it, just put a little bit of olive oil over the top of it and mix it in and enjoy. Well, there you have it, family. Tomato basil risotto with pancetta. That wasn't so hard now, was it, after all? And think of all the new things you've learned about each other in preparing and dining on this dish. I'm Dee Schneid, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today and learning how to create this wonderful meal, and hope to see you next time on Putting It Back on the Table. Goodbye, YouTube land.